She was a forgotten whisper in a bustling luxury hotel, a waitress pouring coffee while empires shifted around her. But when a mysterious billionaire with secrets in his eyes handed her an ancient scroll, demanding she translate a message that held a kingdom's fate, her ordinary life shattered, plunging her into a deadly game of power where the stakes were millions, and the price of failure was everything. Her name was Clara. Every morning, the Grand Hyatt's vast dining room hummed with clinking silver, murmured conversations, and the rich scent of coffee. Clara moved like a ghost, 19 years old, slender, and often overlooked. Her uniform, a crisp white shirt and black skirt, was less an outfit and more a disguise, allowing her to blend into the background. She was a silent observer in a world she served but could never truly be a part of. The polished floors reflected the dazzling chandeliers, a constant shimmering reminder of the chasm between her modest life and the opulent lives of those she catered to. 6 days a week, 10 hours a day, her life revolved around this rhythm. She'd learned to anticipate the needs of the hotel's elite clientele, a skill born of necessity, a quiet mastery of discretion. "More coffee, sir?" she'd ask, her voice soft, easily lost in the din of morning chatter. Usually, the reply was a curt nod or a mumbled, "just the check," delivered without a glance in her direction. She preferred it that way. Being invisible meant being safe, free from scrutiny, free from the heavy expectations of others. It was a comfortable anonymity, a subtle shield against the world's harsher demands and judgmental gazes. Clara's dreams were as modest as her paycheck. To finish community college, perhaps. To save enough for a small apartment, freeing her from long bus rides. Maybe, just maybe, one day afford a decent pair of shoes or a small library of her own books. Grand aspirations were for the people at the tables, the powerful figures, who spoke in hushed tones about mergers and acquisitions, about private jets and distant estates. Not for her. Her reality was far more grounded, far more ordinary, a quiet existence she had come to accept as her destiny. Today, the usual morning rush was receding, leaving behind a scattering of crumbs and half-empty coffee cups. Sunlight, thick and golden, poured through the towering windows, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air, transforming the polished marble floors into liquid gold. Clara was methodically clearing table 7, her small, almost invisible handbrush sweeping stray croissant flakes into her palm. The air was still thick with whispers, however. Not about stocks or global economics, but about a new arrival, a guest who had set the entire hotel staff on edge with his mere presence. "Did you see him?" Maria whispered, eyes wide with a mix of awe and trepidation. "The Sheikh," Lena breathed, a hint of reverence in her voice. "From Qatar. They say he booked the entire top floor. Personal guards everywhere, like a small, silent army." Clara, usually oblivious to hotel gossip, felt a strange pull, a prickling sensation of something important, something far-reaching, unfolding. She glanced discreetly towards the private alcove, a semi-secluded area reserved for the hotel's most distinguished guests. There, alone at a large round table, sat a man radiating an almost palpable aura of immense power and quiet, absolute authority. He was older, perhaps 60, with a meticulously trimmed white beard that framed a face etched with lines that spoke of experience and profound gravitas. His robes, a deep, rich blue silk, shimmered softly in the morning light, suggesting unimaginable wealth without a single flashy emblem. A simple, heavy gold ring adorned his right hand, a subtle but undeniable sign of his supreme status. Every detail screamed ancient power and undeniable lineage, a history older than nations. But it was his eyes that truly held her. Dark brown, sharp, penetrating, holding a depth that seemed to encompass centuries of secrets and immense, unyielding power. As Clara watched, His gaze swept the room, dismissing others with a casual glance until it landed squarely on her. For a split second, their eyes met. A jolt, sharp and unexpected, ran through Clara, from her toes to the roots of her hair. It wasn't hostile, not exactly, but it was profoundly unsettling, making her skin prickle. It was the gaze of a predator assessing its environment, or a king sizing up a potential pawn. She quickly looked away, feeling exposed, like a tiny moth caught in the sudden blinding glare of a spotlight. This was no ordinary guest. This was someone who saw everything, knew everything, and said nothing, yet commanded absolute attention and obedience. "Clara! Mr. Henderson, the dining room manager, barked, his voice tight with desperate deference and barely suppressed panic. He was a man perpetually on the brink of a coronary, and today, the Sheikh's formidable presence had clearly pushed him past it. "Table 9. Now. Immediately. Do not make him wait, Clara, for anything." Clara's stomach did a nervous flip, a sudden knot of dread twisting within her. Table 9. The Sheikh's table. This was highly unusual. High-profile guests like this, dignitaries and heads of state, were always served by the most senior, most experienced staff, usually Mr. Henderson himself. Clara, despite her quiet efficiency, was still considered relatively new, a quiet cog in the vast machine, certainly not assigned to such a powerful figure. Her heart hammered a rapid rhythm against her ribs, a frantic warning. Every instinct screamed. Something was profoundly wrong, irrevocably changed. She took a deep, steadying breath, forced her hands not to tremble, and straightened her apron, a futile attempt at professional composure. She walked towards the alcove, notepad clutched so tightly her knuckles were white. Every step felt heavy, like she was walking into a different dimension, leaving her ordinary life behind with each footfall. The very air around the Sheikh seemed to hum with unspoken energy, a palpable weight of secrets and expectations, drawing her in. "Good morning, sir," she managed, her voice a little more shaky than she would have liked, but clear enough. She tried to project an air of professional calm, a habit she'd perfected over countless shifts, a mask to hide her inner turmoil. "Can I get you anything? Perhaps some tea or coffee? Or a selection from our breakfast menu?" The Sheikh watched her, expression unreadable, a sphinx-like calm about him. A faint, almost imperceptible smile played on his lips, but it didn't quite reach his eyes, which remained as sharp and analytical as before, scrutinizing her every move. His gaze lingered on her, probing, dissecting. It felt like he was looking right through her professional facade, straight into her core, into her very soul, stripping away all pretense. "Sit," he said. His voice was deep, resonant, and held an undeniable authority that brooked no argument. It was a command, not a request, a pronouncement that defied all hotel protocols and demanded immediate obedience. Clara hesitated, her entire training screaming against the instruction. Sit? She was a waitress. She stood. She served. She did not sit with guests, especially not guests of this magnitude, this level of power. It was unheard of. It was improper. It could mean her job, her small livelihood. "Sir, I'm supposed to take your order while standing," she stammered, her cheeks flushing warm with embarrassment and alarm. "It's hotel policy. I could lose my job for such a breach of etiquette. Mr. Henderson would be furious." "I said sit," he repeated, steel in his tone now more pronounced, cutting through her protests with an unyielding edge. He gestured with a graceful hand to the empty chair directly opposite him at the large table, an invitation that felt more like an order, impossible to refuse. "Please, it will be quicker, and you will not lose your job, I assure you. My word is law, even in this establishment. Consider it handled." Clara swallowed hard, her throat suddenly dry, a lump forming in it. "Quicker? Nothing about this felt quick or normal, but the unspoken warning in his eyes was clear, undeniable. She dared not argue further. She slowly pulled out the chair and sat on its very edge, notepad still clutched in her hand like a fragile lifeline. Her mind raced, frantically trying to decipher the situation. Had she accidentally spilled something? Forgotten an important request? Was this some elaborate complaint that required her to be seated like a guilty child facing judgment? None of it made sense. "Your name is Clara, yes?" he asked, voice softer now, almost conversational, a sudden disarming shift in demeanor. "Yes, sir," she confirmed, her voice barely a whisper, a stark contrast to the grandeur and tension that filled the air around them. "Clara," he continued, leaning forward slightly, his posture still regal, but his eyes now held a glint of something akin to intrigue, a spark of calculated interest that made her deeply uneasy. "I believe I need your particular assistance. I need you to translate something for me. Something of immense importance, something that holds the key to my destiny." He reached into the folds of his rich blue robe. Clara watched, her breath caught in her throat, her heart pounding. What was he going to produce? A stack of $1,000 bills for an impossible tip? A legal document demanding secrecy? Her imagination conjured outlandish scenarios, none of which made any logical sense in her ordinary world, yet felt disturbingly close to reality. He produced a small, rolled-up scroll. It looked ancient, almost impossibly old, not like something from a museum, but a living piece of history. The paper was a deep, brittle yellow, crackled with age and history, smelling faintly of dried desert herbs. Its edges were frayed, soft with the passage of centuries, almost dissolving at the touch. It was tied meticulously with a thin, dark red silk ribbon, now faded to a dull crimson, barely clinging to its purpose. The Sheikh placed it carefully on the polished table between them, as if handling something incredibly fragile, incredibly precious, a relic from another time, another world. It seemed to pulse with forgotten knowledge, a silent hum of secrets waiting to be unlocked. "This scroll," he began, his voice dropping slightly, becoming a low, conspiratorial murmur, drawing her into his confidence, into his dangerous world. "It is written in Old Arabic, a dialect so archaic, so deeply rooted in the past, that very few living people can still understand its nuances, its true meaning, its hidden power, its very soul." "Do you speak Arabic, Clara?" Her eyes widened in genuine surprise, a flash of her personal history suddenly illuminated by this unexpected question, a connection she hadn't anticipated. "Yes, sir. My grandmother. She was from Syria, from a very old village near the desert. She taught me when I was little. She spoke an old dialect. She used to say it was very different from modern Arabic, like a secret language. Only she and her ancestors knew, passed down through the women of our family, a gift from the past." A faint blush crept up her cheeks as she spoke of her grandmother, a woman whose stories and lessons were now little more than fading echoes in Clara's memory. Her grandmother had passed years ago, and with her, much of Clara's direct connection to that ancient part of her heritage had seemed to vanish, until now. "Excellent," the Sheikh said, and this time, a genuine smile finally touched his lips, reaching his eyes, a brief moment of true warmth. It was a warm smile, but beneath it, Clara still sensed that layer of something else, something calculating, something powerful. "I believe you are exactly who I have been searching for, Clara, the one person who can unlock this. The missing piece of a centuries-old puzzle, vital to my survival and the survival of my people." Clara stared at the scroll, then at the Sheikh. The weight of his words, the gravity of his expression, the sheer unexpectedness of the situation, pressed in on her, stealing her breath, making her feel lightheaded. This was not a normal request. Her mind reeled, frantically trying to grasp the impossible connection. Why her? Why here? Why now? Her quiet, invisible life suddenly felt very, very visible, under the harsh, unforgiving spotlight of an ancient, dangerous secret, and she knew she couldn't retreat. "What is it, sir?" she asked again, her curiosity now battling a growing sense of unease, a cold premonition of danger to come. Her heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the silence of the alcove, echoing her fear. "A message," he replied, his gaze unwavering, locked onto hers, demanding her full attention. "A message that could change everything. For me, for my family, for my entire country, the future of a dynasty that spans millennia, a line of kings and warriors. It speaks of power, of destiny, and of betrayal." He leaned forward, his voice dropping to an almost inaudible whisper, his words hanging heavy with the weight of untold secrets, a burden he was now sharing with her. "Translate this, Clara, and a sheikhdom could be yours, millions of dollars, a life beyond your wildest dreams, a place of honor and safety you could never imagine, or the end of everything. For all of us, utter ruin, utter destruction." The words resonated in the air, a potent blend of unimaginable promise and terrifying danger. A sheikhdom, millions of dollars, her wildest dreams. Her ordinary world, her simple dreams of a better pair of shoes or a small apartment, dissolved in an instant, replaced by a dizzying panorama of impossible futures and imminent perils. This was not about coffee anymore. This was about something far bigger, something terrifyingly vast, something that would demand more of her than she ever thought possible. And she knew, with a sudden, chilling certainty, that she had no choice but to say yes. "A sheikhdom? What? What do you mean?" she whispered, the words barely escaping her lips, her mind struggling to compute the magnitude of his offer. The sheikh leaned back slightly, a faint smile playing on his lips, a mixture of patience and urgency in his eyes. "It means, Clara, that the future of a royal family, my family, rests on this document. A document that speaks of ancient lineage, hidden treaties, and the true heir to a powerful desert nation, my nation. A nation currently on the brink of civil war, teetering on a precipice of chaos and destruction, and there are those who would see this scroll destroyed. Or worse, translated incorrectly, to serve their own treacherous ends. They would manipulate history for their own power, plunging my people into darkness and endless conflict." He unrolled the scroll carefully, flattening it on the polished tabletop with reverent hands, as if handling sacred scripture. The parchment crackled softly, a sound like dry leaves, as if whispering ancient secrets from forgotten times. The script was unlike anything Clara had ever seen in a book or modern text. It was elegant, flowing, yet utterly archaic. Each character seemed to hold centuries of history, a weight of forgotten wisdom and ancient battles, a living chronicle of a dynasty. "Can you read this?" he asked, his voice low, almost a plea, tinged with a desperate hope. Clara swallowed, her throat suddenly dry, a lump forming in it, her heart still pounding. The ancient characters swam before her eyes for a moment, an incomprehensible dance of symbols, then slowly began to resolve into familiar forms, as if her mind remembered them instinctively. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her memory, reciting old poems, teaching her the subtle variations of forgotten letters, the unique flourishes of the ancient scribes, the very soul of the language. Yes, I think so. It's very old, but I recognize some of the formations, the patterns. My grandmother called it the desert tongue. She said it was a language of winds and sand, of deep tribal secrets, understood by few and only by those with the old blood. The desert tongue. Precisely. My ancestors guarded its knowledge, passing it down through a select few. Begin, Clara. Tell me what it says. Every word, every nuance. Even the pauses, for they too can hold meaning, can hide critical information. Clara took a deep breath, trying to steady her hands, which still trembled slightly. She placed her finger lightly on the parchment, tracing the first line of the beautiful, deadly script. The words flowed from her, hesitant at first, a soft murmur, then gaining a slow, rhythmic confidence, like a forgotten melody suddenly remembered from a distant dream, gaining strength with each syllable. It begins, in the sands of time, where stars align. The bloodline of the Falcon King shall endure. When the ancient well runs dry, and the serpent's shadow rises, a new dawn shall break from the desolate plains. She paused, her brow furrowed, trying to grasp the deeper meaning of the poetic, allegorical language, feeling its profound weight. A dawn guided by ancient wisdom, born anew from the dust of forgotten loyalties, revealing the true path and bringing forth a rightful leader. The Sheikh listened intently, his posture rigid, leaning forward slightly, his eyes fixed on her. His eyes never left her face, watching for every flicker of understanding, every hesitation, every subtle shift in her expression, searching for confirmation, for the truth. He seemed to hold his breath with each word she uttered, as if his own life force depended on it, as if the fate of his world hung on her words. "The serpent's shadow!" He interrupted, his voice sharp with sudden alarm, cutting through her translation. "What does that mean, Clara? Who is this serpent? Does it refer to a person?" I don't know, sir. Not precisely," she admitted, shaking her head. "It sounds metaphorical. A threat? A rival, perhaps? My grandmother spoke of serpents as those who betray their tribe, who seek power through deceit, who poison from within. It suggests a hidden, insidious enemy, one that acts in the shadows." He merely nodded, a grim understanding settling on his face, urging her to continue. "Proceed. The nuances are vital. Your interpretation could mean the difference between peace and war, between triumph and utter defeat. Do not falter." The narrative of the scroll slowly unfolded, revealing a story as old as the desert itself, a tale of prophecy and power. It spoke of a vast, hidden oasis, a sacred spring known as Al-Khazan, and a secret agreement between ancient tribal leaders, promising prosperity and power to a specific lineage, but only under certain conditions of purity and loyalty. It was a sacred covenant, unbreakable for generations, a divine right now potentially at grave risk, threatened by betrayal. Only he who holds the mark of the golden scarab, and whose heart is pure like the desert dawn, shall command the loyalty of the 7 tribes, and uncover the hidden spring of Al-Khazan. If the pact is broken, or the bloodline corrupted by deceit, the waters shall turn to dust, and the desert shall consume all. No oasis, no life, only ruin, a cursed land and a lost people. Clara looked up, her brow furrowed in concentration, piecing together the fragments of meaning, her mind alight with the ancient words. "The golden scarab? What is that? Is it a real object? A relic?" The Sheikh's jaw tightened, his gaze hardening with a mix of longing and profound concern. "A symbol, a very old symbol of my family, passed down through the true line of the Falcon Kings. A physical artifact, rumored to grant immense power to its bearer, to prove their divine right to rule, to command the tribes. But it was lost centuries ago, or so we thought. Its discovery would solidify everything, make my claim undeniable." "Keep going. This is critical. Every word you speak breathes life into our past and maps out our future. It guides us." The words now carried a palpable urgency, a sense of impending doom and desperate hope, weaving a tale of treachery. The scroll described a specific ritual, a series of astronomical alignments, and a precise location revealed only through cryptic riddles, veiled in ancient poetry and tribal lore. It was a map, a prophecy, and a dire warning, all rolled into one, a tapestry of fate. It spoke of betrayal, of a powerful rival branch of the family that sought to usurp the throne, to seize control through any means necessary, by force or deception. A branch that called themselves the Serpent's Brood. They were ambitious, cunning, and utterly ruthless, with no regard for tradition or honor. The Serpent's Brood, she translated, her voice barely a whisper, the name tasting like ash in her mouth, a bitter flavor. They are plotting. They seek to poison the well, both literally and figuratively, to claim the golden scarab by force and deception, to rewrite history, to erase your family's true claim, to seize control of the kingdom. My cousin, Tariq. The Sheikh's voice was a low growl, filled with a deep-seated anger and weariness. He has always believed he was the true heir, despite the ancient traditions. He has spent years gathering support, sowing discord, undermining my authority in secret, building his own army of loyalists and mercenaries. This scroll confirms his treachery, his insidious plot. It proves his lineage is not pure, not worthy of the golden scarab, not worthy of the throne. And it contains the only true path to solidifying my claim, uniting the tribes against him, and saving our country from his tyranny. The future of our people, our very way of life, depends on this truth being revealed, Clara. The stakes suddenly escalated from abstract historical translation to a very real, very dangerous dynastic struggle, a battle for a nation's soul, a fight for its very identity. Clara felt a tightening in her chest, a suffocating weight of responsibility. This wasn't just ancient history, this was a powder keg, and she was holding the match. And she had just lit the fuse, irrevocably changing her fate. Sir, this is about power, about war. This is terrifying. I'm just a waitress. It is about survival, Clara. The Sheikh's eyes burned with unwavering intensity, a fire of fierce determination. Survival of my people, survival of my family, the last hope for stability, and now, your survival too. Because you are the only one who can read this. And if my enemies knew that, if Tariq discovered your unique ability, they would stop at nothing to silence you. They would see you as the most dangerous threat to their ambitions, the one who could expose their lies. Clara felt a cold dread seep into her bones, chilling her to the marrow. She had just translated words that could ignite a war, a violent uprising across a vast desert, and by doing so, she had unwittingly painted a target on her own back, marking herself for destruction. The luxurious hotel, the mundane waitressing job, all of it vanished in an instant, replaced by a world of shadows, secrets, and an ancient power struggle that transcended anything she could have imagined. What had she gotten herself into, and how could she possibly get out of this alive? The thought alone was paralyzing. My survival? But I just translated it. What else could they possibly want with me? I'm just a waitress, a girl from a small apartment. I'm nobody. The Sheikh leaned forward again, his gaze intense, piercing her, demanding her to understand. The scroll is not merely a record, Clara. It is a key, a roadmap, to the hidden spring of Al-Khazan, a source of immense power and legitimacy for whoever controls it, for whoever can prove their right to it. And the full meaning, the subtle nuances, the very spirit of the ancient text are locked within that desert tongue only you understand. You are not just a translator, you are the living Rosetta Stone, the only bridge to this ancient truth, the only one who can guide us. My enemies will want to extract every secret from your mind, every hidden detail of the scroll, every fragment of your grandmother's knowledge, and then they will silence you permanently. Your knowledge makes you invaluable, and therefore a grave threat to them. You are too dangerous to be left alive once your use is exhausted. A shiver ran down Clara's spine, raising goosebumps on her arms. The casual opulence of the hotel room suddenly felt like a gilded cage, trapping her, its beauty a deceit. She looked around, suddenly paranoid, her senses heightened, every nerve screaming. Were they being watched? Was someone listening through the walls, through hidden microphones, through the very air? Every shadow seemed to move, every murmur from the lobby amplified into a sinister threat, a sign of impending doom that tightened its grip. But who are your enemies? Who is this Tariq, exactly? And how do I know if they are here, in this very hotel, watching us now, planning their move? My cousin, Tariq al-Hamad, is a master of deception and infiltration. He has infiltrated every level of my court, my business, even my security detail, sowing seeds of discontent. He is ruthlessly ambitious, and he believes this hotel, with its international neutrality and constant flow of anonymous travelers, is the perfect place to make his move, to destabilize things, to strike at me when I am most vulnerable, surrounded by strangers, far from my loyalists. And yes, they are likely here, watching, waiting. I feel their presence, like a desert predator circling its prey, tightening the noose with every passing moment. Clara felt a cold knot form in her stomach, twisting painfully. Here? In this hotel? But how could I possibly be safe? How can anyone be safe? Her instincts screamed at her to run, to disappear, to go back to her simple, invisible life, to forget she ever saw that scroll. But the Sheikh's unwavering gaze held her, trapped. She couldn't unknow what she now knew. She couldn't abandon him, not after seeing the truth in the scroll, not after glimpsing the terrible future. You are safe for now, Clara, because they do not yet know what you are. They know I am frantically searching for a translator for an ancient text. They do not know I have found one, let alone someone with your specific, unique ability, your family's deep connection to the desert tongue. You are still merely a waitress, a ghost in the background, unnoticed by the powerful, and that is how it must remain for a little while longer. Your anonymity is your greatest shield, for now. But that shield is already cracking under the pressure. He rolled the scroll up again, securing it with the red ribbon, and placed it inside a deep inner pocket of his robe with great care, as if protecting a fragile bird. We must meet again tonight, in secret. I will arrange it. But until then, you must act as if nothing has happened. No one, absolutely no one, must know of this conversation. Not a word, not a glance out of place. Do you understand? Your life, and the fate of my nation, depends on your absolute discretion, and on your ability to deceive, to pretend that you are merely a simple waitress. Clara nodded, her mind reeling, trying to process the impossible demands placed upon her. Discretion? Deception? She was about to be caught between warring factions of billionaires in a conspiracy she couldn't even begin to comprehend. How was she supposed to act normal, to serve coffee and smile, when the world was about to shatter around her, and she was at its very epicenter, the crucial hinge of fate? Sir, I need time to think. This is too much. I'm just a girl from a small village. There is no time, Clara. The Sheikh's voice was edged with raw urgency, cutting off her plea, leaving no room for argument. Every minute counts. Tariq is making his move. I felt it even before this scroll confirmed his exact plans. He seeks to seize control of my oil fields, my financial assets, my entire military command. His coup could begin tonight, under the cloak of darkness, catching us unprepared. And without this scroll to prove my lineage and unify my loyalists, I will be defenseless against his fabricated claims, his cunning lies. My country will descend into chaos, into a bloody civil war. a conflict that could engulf the entire region. He reached into his robe again, this time producing a small, intricately carved silver falcon, no larger than her palm. Its eyes were tiny emeralds, glowing faintly with an internal light. This is a communication device. Tonight, after your shift, at precisely 11 p.m., it will vibrate, a silent signal only you will feel. Come to the North Service entrance, by the loading dock. A car will be waiting. It will take you to a secure location, far from here, far from Tariq's grasp, to a place where we can continue our work safely. He placed the falcon in her hand. It felt cool and heavy, a tangible link to this new, dangerous reality, a symbol of her new fate. Do not show it to anyone. Do not speak to anyone. Just wait for the signal. Remember, Clara, a sheikhdom could be yours, power beyond imagination, a life of influence and security beyond anything you've ever known, a destiny beyond dreams, but only if we succeed. And if we fail, there will be nothing left. Nothing but ruin and endless desert, and your life will be forfeit, erased as if you never existed. Clara watched him walk away, his blue robes flowing behind him, disappearing into the elegant lobby as if he were just another wealthy guest, blending back into the anonymous elite. But he wasn't, and neither was she. She was now a pawn in a royal game, a secret weapon with a target on her back. A target that Tariq already suspected. She looked at the silver falcon in her hand. It was cold, beautiful, and terrifying. Her waitress apron, her quiet, invisible life, felt impossibly far away, like a fading memory, a dream that had evaporated. This was real. And she was utterly alone in it, caught in a deadly web of power, with no escape. She had to survive until tonight. But how? How could she walk through a hotel filled with potential enemies, serve the last few tables, and pretend nothing had changed, when her world had utterly fractured? The thought sent a fresh wave of panic through her, cold and absolute. She was in too deep, far, far too deep, with no clear path out. Clara's hands trembled as she tucked the silver falcon deep into her apron pocket. The metal felt impossibly heavy, a secret burden that burned against her skin, a constant, chilling reminder. She forced herself to breathe, to push down the rising tide of panic that threatened to overwhelm her, to swallow her whole. Act normal. Easier said than done when your life, and the fate of an entire nation, hung by a thread. And a ruthless, powerful man already had his eyes on you, waiting for your first mistake, for the slightest misstep. She spent the remaining hours of her shift in a daze, her movements automatic, her smile fixed but empty, a hollow facade. She cleared tables, refilled water glasses, offering polite pleasantries, all while her mind raced, every nerve frayed and screaming with anxiety. Every passing face became a potential threat, every casual glance a probing stare, every hushed conversation a possible trap. The Grand Hyatt, once mundane, had transformed into a labyrinth of hidden dangers, a gilded cage where the walls seemed to close in with every tick of the clock, every moment drawing her closer to her fate. As the afternoon wore on, the sense of dread intensified, pressing down on her like the crushing weight of the desert heat. She imagined Tariq's network, his insidious serpent's brood, closing in, their unseen eyes watching her every move, dissecting her every action, every subtle hesitation. What if they already suspected more than she let on? What if the Sheikh had been followed here, inadvertently leading Tariq's forces directly to her, confirming her involvement? The mere thought sent a jolt of icy fear through her veins, paralyzing her for a split second, a terrifying vision of capture. Just as she was wiping down the last table, preparing to clock out and make her desperate escape, a deep, unsettling voice broke through her paranoia, cutting the silence like a knife. sending a chill through her. "Clara, a moment, please." She froze. The voice came from directly behind her, smooth as silk, sharp as a blade. She turned slowly, her heart hammering against her ribs, a drumbeat of pure terror. Standing there, impeccably dressed in a tailored European suit that cost more than her annual salary, was a man in his late 40s. He had the same piercing eyes as the Sheikh, but his were colder, sharper, lacking any warmth, filled only with an unnerving predatory calculation. His smile was predatory, a thin, cruel line that didn't reach his eyes, a mask of false charm. This had to be him, Tariq al-Hamad. Her greatest fear was standing right in front of her, inescapable, utterly real. Her heart leaped into her throat, a frantic bird trapped in her chest, fluttering desperately for freedom. How did he know her name? "Mr. Tariq," she managed, her voice barely a whisper, a stark contrast to his confident, menacing tone. "Ah, so you recognize the name. Excellent. Saves us time. I am indeed Tariq al-Hamad, and you, Clara, are proving to be a most interesting development. A significant, unexpected thorn in my carefully laid plans, it seems. One I must address immediately." A cold sweat broke out on her forehead, trickling down her back, chilling her to the bone. He knew. How could he know so much? Had the Sheikh misjudged his own security? I don't know what you mean, sir," she stammered, trying desperately to keep her expression blank, her hands out of sight in her apron pocket where the falcon lay, a secret burning against her skin. Tariq chuckled, a low, unsettling sound that held no humor, only veiled threat and chilling amusement. "Don't play coy, little waitress. My cousin, the esteemed Sheikh, has been frantically searching for weeks for someone with your unique linguistic abilities. It was only a matter of time before he found you. And only a matter of minutes before I found out he found you. My network is far-reaching, Clara. Far more extensive than my cousin imagines. It extends into every corner." He took a step closer, his presence radiating menace, like a storm cloud gathering on a clear desert sky, suffocating her. "You see, Clara, I have ears everywhere, including within my cousin's inner circle, within his very home. They speak of an ancient tongue, a lost scroll. And they speak of a young woman with a Syrian grandmother." He paused, his gaze fixed, unwavering, on her face, probing her secrets, reading her very thoughts. "Your grandmother, I believe. A woman who was, coincidentally, a noted scholar of ancient dialects before her unfortunate passing. A very convenient coincidence for my cousin, indeed. Almost too convenient." Clara felt a fresh wave of terror, deeper and colder than before. He knew about her grandmother? He had researched her, digging into her past, into her family's history, her lineage. How deep did this conspiracy go? How long had she been watched, unknowingly a pawn in this deadly game? "I'm just a waitress, sir. I have no idea what you're talking about. I merely served him coffee, nothing more. I barely spoke to him," she insisted, trying to sound firm, but her voice still trembled, betraying her profound fear and desperation. Tariq merely raised an eyebrow, a gesture of dismissive amusement that sent shivers down her spine. "Oh, I think you do. The Sheikh's private security detail has just reported a minor incident in the private dining area. A misplaced napkin. A coded message. I know my cousin. He doesn't misplace things. Especially not immediately after a secretive meeting with a certain young, invisible waitress. You see, Clara, even ghosts leave traces that a careful hunter can follow. And I am a very careful hunter." He leaned in close, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper, a venomous hiss that seemed to wrap around her, suffocating her. "He thinks he's recruited you. He thinks he can use you to unlock his pathetic claims to power. But he underestimates me, and he underestimates your own self-interest. You are a clever girl. Clara, don't waste that cleverness on a losing side, a side destined for ruin, for destruction. He pulled out a slim black leather wallet from his inner jacket pocket, extracted a single, crisp $100 bill, and flicked it onto the table Clara had just wiped clean. It landed with a soft, insulting whisper, a silent sneer of contempt, a paltry sum for her soul. This is for your loyalty, Clara, a down payment. Tell me what the scroll said, every word, every hidden meaning, and I will make you wealthy beyond your wildest dreams. 100 times what my cousin could ever offer a commoner like you. A new life, anywhere you want, absolute freedom, security beyond measure. Think of it. Clara stared at the bill, pristine yet tainted. It felt like blood money, stained with untold secrets and potential violence. She looked up at Tariq, her mind racing, weighing impossible choices, survival against loyalty, wealth against honor. What if she told him? What if she just gave him what he wanted, took the money, and ran, disappeared into the anonymous vastness of the city, started anew? Could she truly escape this nightmare, disappear back into anonymity? But then, she remembered the Sheikh's face, his desperation, his mention of survival, not just for himself, but for his people, for his very nation, the truth she had read. And the image of the sacred scroll, its ancient words now etched in her memory, speaking of pure bloodlines and grave betrayals, of a heritage that deserved to endure, not be corrupted. She couldn't betray him, not after he had trusted her, not when she had seen the truth in those ancient lines, the future of a nation at stake. I can't, she said, her voice stronger than she expected, fueled by a sudden, fierce resolve, a spark of defiance she hadn't known she possessed. I don't know what you're talking about. My grandmother's stories are just that, stories, nothing more. You are mistaken. Tariq's smile vanished completely, replaced by a mask of cold, unyielding fury. His eyes hardened to chips of ice, reflecting the harsh, fluorescent light, utterly devoid of mercy or compassion. A mistake, Clara, a very grave mistake. There are consequences for such defiance. Consequences far beyond your comprehension, far beyond what your sheltered life has prepared you for. I promise you that. He took another step back, his gaze lingering pointedly on her apron pocket, where the silver falcon lay hidden, its presence now a burning coal, confirming his suspicions. Think about it, before it's too late. The desert is a cruel place for those who choose the wrong side. And my wrath is far, far crueler than any desert storm. He turned abruptly and walked away, his presence leaving a chilling vacuum in his wake, a heavy silence that pressed in on her. Clara watched him go, her legs feeling like jelly, her hands clammy, a profound sense of doom settling over her. He knew everything, or at least, enough to be deadly. The silver falcon in her pocket felt like a burning coal, no longer just a burden, but a ticking clock, counting down her remaining moments of fragile peace. The trap had sprung. She was caught, undeniably, and now she had to play a game she didn't understand, against a ruthless opponent. But how? And what was her next move against such a powerful, insidious enemy? The shift ended in 30 minutes. 30 minutes until the falcon vibrated. 30 minutes until she had to walk out into the unknown. 30 minutes until she had to decide who to trust, and if she trusted anyone at all. The stakes were no longer millions. They were her very life, hanging by a thread, utterly exposed. The final 30 minutes of Clara's shift stretched into an eternity. Every shadow seemed to hold lurking threats, every hushed conversation a potential trap. She felt Tariq's cold gaze even when he was no longer in the room, an invisible pressure on her back, a ghost of his menacing presence. The silver falcon pulsed faintly, almost imperceptibly, In her pocket, a phantom vibration, a countdown to a rendezvous she now dreaded, but knew she couldn't avoid. As the last guest filtered out and the dining room emptied, Clara hurried to the staff changing rooms, her movements jerky and desperate. Her hands fumbled with the buttons of her uniform shirt, her mind a whirlwind of fear and fractured plans, none of them good, none of them safe. Should she go to the police? But what would she say? A billionaire wants me to translate an ancient scroll for a sheikdom, and his cousin is threatening me with death. They'd laugh her out of the station, or worse, dismiss her as a madwoman. Besides, Tariq had mentioned infiltration. Who could she trust within the city's authorities? Or anywhere, for that matter. It felt like she was truly alone in a hostile world, a tiny figure against immense power. She pulled on her plain jeans and a simple sweater, the mundane clothes feeling like a flimsy shield against the gathering storm, utterly inadequate for the world she was entering. As she tied her shoelaces, her hands still trembling, she felt it, a distinct, undeniable vibration from her pocket. The falcon. It was time. The signal. Taking a deep, shaky breath, Clara made her way through the deserted service corridors. The hotel's underbelly was a maze of industrial kitchens, humming with dormant machinery, vast laundry facilities, and echoing storage rooms, a stark contrast to the opulence above. The air grew colder as she neared the loading dock, a mix of exhaust fumes, damp concrete, and the faint, lingering smell of chemicals filling her nostrils. Every creak, every distant hum, every drip of water made her jump, a testament to her shattered nerves, her heightened state of alarm. She pushed open a heavy metal door, stepping out into the chilly night air. The loading dock was dimly lit by a single flickering fluorescent light, casting long, distorted shadows that danced eerily. A black SUV, sleek and expensive, idled silently at the curb, its windows tinted, opaque, an impenetrable fortress on wheels. The driver, a large man in a dark suit, stood beside it, his posture rigid, his eyes scanning the perimeter, a silent guardian against unseen threats. As Clara approached, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm, the driver nodded once, curtly, and opened the rear door. "Clara?" he asked, his voice a low rumble, devoid of emotion, purely professional. "Yes," she confirmed, her voice a nervous whisper, barely audible above the hum of the idling engine, the roar of her own pulse. "Sheikh Hassan awaits. We must move quickly." "There is no time to waste, miss." Clara hesitated, her last shred of caution, her final test. Was this a trap? Tariq had known about her meeting with the Sheikh. What if he had intercepted the driver, replaced him with one of his own men, cunningly setting a trap? What if this was a setup to snatch her before she could be useful to the Sheikh? She looked at the driver, trying desperately to read his face, but it was impassive, unrevealing, like a carved stone mask. He wore no visible insignia, nothing to confirm his allegiance, nothing to ease her profound suspicion. "How do I know you're with the Sheikh?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly, but firm despite her fear. The driver merely reached into his own pocket and produced a matching silver falcon, identical to the one in her hand. He pressed a hidden clasp. The tiny emerald eyes glowed green, a clear, unmistakable signal, a confirmation of loyalty. "Only loyalists carry these, miss. Sheikh Hassan values trust and caution. We have little time for doubt, and even less for questions. Please, get in. We are already running behind schedule." A surge of relief washed over Clara, quickly followed by a fresh wave of anxiety. At least she was with the right side, for now. She slid into the plush leather seat of the SUV, the luxurious comfort feeling incongruous with her terror. The door closed with a soft thud, sealing her inside the cavernous vehicle, separating her from the familiar world, from any chance of turning back. It was like stepping into another dimension entirely, a world of cloak and dagger. The car smelled of new leather and something subtly expensive, a scent that now represented danger and untold secrets, and her irrevocably altered destiny. The SUV glided silently through the city streets, a dark phantom against the urban glow, leaving the familiar warmth and flickering lights of the Grand Hyatt behind like a distant memory, a life she had abruptly shed. Clara pressed her face against the tinted window, watching the blur of city lights, her mind still racing, trying to process the impossible turns her life had taken in a single morning. Where were they going? What would happen next? What new dangers awaited her? After a silent, unnervingly long drive that felt like traversing continents and years, the SUV turned off the main road, entering a quiet residential area she didn't recognize, shrouded in deep shadows. It grated presentation, pulled up to a grand, unassuming townhouse, nestled amongst old oak trees, its facade dark except for a single warm light in an upstairs window. It seemed like any other wealthy home, yet Clara felt the tension radiating from its silent walls, a readiness for crisis, a fortified haven. The driver got out, opened her door, and gestured inside. "The Sheikh is waiting, Miss Clara. Do not delay. Every moment is precious. Come this way." Clara stepped out, her legs feeling wobbly, like a newborn foal taking its first steps, unsteady and vulnerable. She walked up the stone pathway, her heart pounding a frantic drum against her ribs. The front door opened silently before she even reached it. A different man, also in a dark suit, stood in the doorway, ushering her in with a polite but firm gesture, his eyes alert and assessing, missing nothing, observing every detail of her wary posture. Inside, the house was a blend of modern elegance and antique charm. Rich tapestries adorned the walls, depicting ancient desert scenes and legendary battles, a history woven into the very fabric of the home. Subtle lighting highlighted intricate sculptures and dark, polished wood furniture, creating an atmosphere of quiet power and hidden strength. It felt safe, yet still held an air of unspoken tension, a readiness for crisis, a fortress against the unseen, an island in a sea of danger. She was led through a tastefully decorated living room to a smaller, more intimate study, filled with leather-bound books and sprawling maps spread across tables. The Sheikh was there, seated at a heavy mahogany desk, bathed in the soft glow of a desk lamp. He looked up as she entered, his face grave, etched with worry, but with a flicker of palpable relief at her arrival, a genuine warmth in his gaze. The ancient scroll lay unrolled before him, its parchment a stark, fragile contrast to the modern room, a tangible link to another time and destiny, bridging past and present. "Clara, you came." "He had the manders pass of them," said, a hint of deep relief in his voice. "I was beginning to worry. Tariq has proven even more aggressive than I predicted. His network is truly vast, his reach unsettling." "Tariq found me, sir," Clara blurted out, unable to hold it in, the words tumbling out in a desperate rush, a confession of fear. "He spoke to me. He knows you found a translator. He knew about my grandmother. He offered me money to betray you. He threatened me, Sheikh." He looked directly at where I hid the falcon, as if he knew it was there all along, as if he could see through my clothing. The Sheikh's expression darkened instantly, a storm cloud passing over his features. His eyes narrowed to slits, and a muscle twitched visibly in his jaw, a sign of suppressed rage and growing alarm. "He moves faster than I anticipated. How much did you tell him, Clara?" "Every word, every detail, is vital. Tell me exactly what transpired." "Nothing, sir, I swear." Clara insisted, her hands gesturing emphatically, her voice rising in urgency, her desperation clear. "I told him I didn't know anything. I stood my ground. but he clearly suspected. He knows I'm involved now. He said the desert is a cruel place for those who choose the wrong side. He meant to scare me, to break me, to turn me against you. The Sheikh rose, walking around the desk, his presence radiating immense, controlled power, a palpable force. His eyes were filled with a cold fury Clara hadn't seen before, a primal rage for what was being stolen, what was being threatened. Then we have even less time than I thought. He will not wait. He will strike tonight. He believes this is his last chance to secure his claim before I can present the scroll to the Council of Elders, before the summer solstice, before the truth is revealed to all. He will not risk exposure. He slammed a fist lightly on the desk, the sound muffled by the wood, but potent with frustration and a grim resolve. He will try to seize the oil fields, the financial assets, even the military command. My country cannot afford civil war, a battle of brother against brother that would tear us apart from within. He walked over to a map displayed on an easel, covered by a cloth. He pulled the cloth away with a flourish, revealing a detailed topographical map of a vast desert region, dotted with ancient markings, modern oil fields, and a complex network of tribal territories. It was a map of his world, a world Clara was now irrevocably part of. The scroll, he explained, pointing to a specific desolate area on the map, a cluster of peaks and canyons, marked with ancient, faded script, describes the path to Al-Khazan. The hidden spring, the true source of our power, the spiritual heart of our people, and the undeniable proof of our lineage. Tariq seeks to find it first, or at least destroy it, ensuring my defeat and the complete destabilization of my rule. But he only has fragmented clues, whispers from ancient texts, incomplete information. You, Clara, hold the complete map, the true path, encoded in the very words you translated. You are the key to its discovery. But I don't know anything about maps or desert locations, Clara protested, feeling overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the task, the crushing weight of the responsibility suddenly upon her. I just translate words. I'm not a cartographer or an explorer, Sheikh. I don't know how to read a physical map, let alone a cryptic one, out in the middle of nowhere. Those words are the map, the Sheikh countered, his gaze intense, pinning her in place, demanding her full, unwavering focus. And you, Clara, are about to become our cartographer, our guide. You must translate the rest of the scroll, every hidden clue, every riddle, every ancient proverb that points the way, and you must do it tonight. Before Tariq unleashes his full plan and plunges us into an irreversible conflict, a point of no return for our nation. Clara looked at the map, then at the scroll, then at the face, Sheikh's determined, desperate face. Her simple waitress life was shattered beyond repair, irrevocably gone. She was no longer just a translator. She was now central to a desperate race against time, a game of life and death in a world she never knew existed, a world of ancient power and modern intrigue, of hidden springs and ruthless cousins. And she was utterly terrified. But beneath the fear, a tiny spark ignited, a sense of purpose, of defiance. She wouldn't be invisible anymore. She wouldn't be a pawn. She would fight. She would use every ounce of her unique knowledge, every memory of her grandmother's teachings, to see this through. Clara stared at the desert map, then back at the ancient scroll, its golden parchment seeming to glow with destiny, with the weight of ages. Her heart still pounded, a relentless drum in her ears, but the initial paralyzing fear was slowly giving way to a strange clarity, a focused determination. She was in this now. There was no turning back. She had to translate. She had to survive. Her grandmother's spirit seemed to whisper in her ear, urging her on, guiding her hand, lending her strength. All right, tell me what you need. What part of the scroll is most urgent, Sheikh? The riddles of the path? The trials to find the spring itself? The Sheikh's eyes held a glimmer of approval, a flicker of hope that lit up his weary face. The heart of it, Clara. The verses that pinpoint the exact location of Al-Khazan, its entrance, its very essence. Tariq's scholars, his serpent's brood, they believe the spring is a myth, or that its location is long lost to the shifting sands of time. They have dismissed any specific directions as mere poetry, archaic nonsense, superstitious ramblings. But this scroll, your grandmother's dialect, it proves otherwise. It contains the undeniable truth, the precise coordinates. This is our salvation, our last hope. He gestured to a section of the scroll, densely packed lines of script, more riddle than instruction, a complex tapestry of ancient wisdom and poetic clues. This section here, it is guarded by astronomical and geological references, old proverbs that describe landmarks. Only someone intimately familiar with the desert tongue and its ancient lore could decipher them. A modern mind would simply see metaphors, vague, poetic imagery, but you, Clara, see the map, the clear directions. Clara leaned over the desk, focus sharpening, her mind sifting through childhood memories, fragments of her grandmother's fireside tales, connecting dots she never knew existed. The fear was a dull throb, a constant hum beneath her resolve, but the intricate challenge of the translation began to consume her, pulling her into its depths, a fascinating puzzle. Her grandmother's voice, a comforting whisper from the past, seemed to guide her, unlocking forgotten fragments of knowledge, connecting ancient legends to the very landscape before her. She remembered lessons about desert folklore, about how the Bedouin navigated by stars and subtle shifts in the sand, how every rock and shadow held a story, a message for those who knew how to read it. It speaks of the twin stars that weep blood over the mountain of sighs. She began, tracing characters carefully, the words flowing from her with increasing confidence, like a stream finding its course. And where the river of ancient tears meets the stone camel's hump, and the shadow of the great falcon falls furthest at the dawn of the longest day. She looked up, brow furrowed in deep concentration, piecing together the poetic clues, seeing the images vividly in her mind, a landscape unfolding. These are not just directions, Sheikh, they are riddles, puzzles tied to specific celestial events, specific alignments, and unique geological features. My grandmother taught me these very sayings, told me they were keys to finding lost things, to understanding the desert's heart. The Sheikh nodded slowly, gaze, intense, excitement barely contained, a powerful current beneath his calm exterior. Exactly! Tariq's scholars dismissed them as meaningless poetry, without practical meaning, mere superstitious ramblings. They are wrong. These are precise coordinates, etched in time, waiting for you to unlock them, to give them form. Can you find them on the map, Clara? Can you see what I, with all my modern instruments, cannot? Clara looked at the map, then back at the scroll, a connection sparking vividly in her mind, a sudden flash of insight, illuminating the path. Her mind raced, sifting through fragments of her grandmother's stories, linking ancient lore to modern cartography, bridging millennia of knowledge. The Mountain of Sighs. My grandmother told me a legend. It's a range of towering red sandstone cliffs, famous for the mournful sound the wind makes whistling through its narrow canyons, like spirits weeping for forgotten travelers. The river of ancient tears, that would be the seasonal wadi, the dried riverbed that only flows after rare desert rain. It's called the Wadi al-Baka. She pointed to a winding blue line on the map, then a prominent formation. Here, it meets a distinctive rock formation, shaped like a camel, with a weathered head and hump, the stone camel. It's legendary amongst the old tribes, a marker from time immemorial, an unmistakable landmark. A spark of excitement flared in her, banishing some of the lingering fear, replacing it with the thrill of discovery, the triumph of understanding. She was doing it. She was piecing together a map from ancient poetry, translating not just words, but an entire world, a hidden reality. "And the great falcon," she murmured, thinking deeply, remembering the Sheikh's own symbol, the powerful emblem on his ring, its significance, the golden scarab. It's tied to the Falcon King, isn't it? The ancient ruler, the founder of your line, the legendary ancestor, the longest day, the summer solstice, the day of greatest light, of ultimate power, when shadows are their longest, the summer solstice. The Sheikh's voice was sharp with urgency, the pieces of the puzzle falling into place. "That is just 3 days from now, Clara. That is Tariq's chosen date. He intends to launch his official challenge to my rule on the eve of the solstice, claiming an ancient right, a false prophecy that would turn the tribes against me. He believes I will be unable to counter him, that I will have no proof, no legitimate claim. He means to strike then." Clara's fingers flew across the map, tracing lines, connecting points with startling precision, her inner eye seeing the landscape come alive, guiding her. The shadow of the great falcon. It means a specific point where the sun casts the longest, sharpest shadow from a prominent falcon-shaped rock formation. Only visible at dawn, on that specific day, the solstice. It would have to be here, near this isolated peak, this series of hidden caves. The rock carving of the Falcon King, the one my grandmother mentioned in her stories, now more than just a myth. It's rumored to be a sacred landmark, carved by the first Falcon King himself to mark his resting place, or perhaps a hidden treasure, the scarab itself. The Sheikh stared at the map, eyes widening in astonishment, then filling with fierce triumph, a profound sense of vindication, of destiny realized. The Falcon Peak! It was thought to be a legend, a children's story, dismissed by modern scholars as mere folklore. You have found it, Clara. You have found Al-Khazan. He slammed his palm lightly on the desk, a rare, powerful display of emotion, vibrating with purpose. It's a small oasis, hidden within a network of underground caves, a true marvel of nature, a source of life and power, a secret guarded for centuries, protected by these very riddles you have unveiled. This changes everything! He pulled out a satellite phone, his fingers flying across the keypad, his movements swift and decisive, brimming with renewed purpose. We must move immediately. My loyal forces, the ones I can still trust, the true Falcon Guard, are waiting. They must reach Al-Khazan before Tariq's men, before he can destroy it or claim it with his lies, twisting its meaning for his own dark ends. He spoke quickly into the phone in rapid, guttural Arabic, giving coordinates, issuing urgent commands, his voice firm with renewed authority, like a king reclaiming his throne and his birthright. As he finished the call, he looked at Clara, his face a mixture of profound relief and grim determination. You have done more than translate, Clara. You have given us a fighting chance, a path to victory against a formidable enemy, a beacon in the darkness. But now, we must embark on the journey ourselves. We leave at once. There is no other option, no turning back. We must secure the spring. We? You mean, me too? Clara asked, her voice filled with a fresh wave of fear and disbelief. Of course, Clara, you are the only one who can truly navigate these riddles, to feel the pulse of the desert tongue, to see the way forward. The scroll provides more than just the location. It details a series of challenges, trials that must be overcome to fully unlock Al-Khazan's power, to find the golden scarab itself and claim its authority. And only someone steeped in the desert tongue, with your unique insight, can interpret them, can understand the spiritual journey required. Besides, you are no longer safe here. Tariq knows too much, and he will hunt you down relentlessly until you are silenced. You are coming with me. To the desert, to fight for a future you unknowingly helped shape and now hold in your hands. The desert, a place of endless sand and blistering Sunday, a place of ancient legends and deadly secrets. Clara, the waitress from the Grand Hyatt, was about to embark on an impossible journey, chasing a mythical spring in a desperate race against time and a ruthless enemy. Her life had irrevocably changed, transforming her from an invisible server to a central figure in a dynastic war. The stakes had never been higher. And a part of her, a part she hadn't known existed, was ready for the fight, ready to lead. The desert night swallowed them whole. Clara sat in the back of a rugged, armored vehicle, the Sheikh beside her, his face grimly set, occasionally glancing at her with a mixture of hope and heavy responsibility. Outside, the powerful headlights cut through the inky blackness, revealing only an endless expanse of shifting sand dunes and distant, jagged mountains that looked like sleeping giants, ancient sentinels of the wilderness. The plush comfort of the Grand Hyatt felt like a dream, a distant echo from another life she'd left behind just hours ago, a lifetime away, irrevocably severed. They drove for hours, deeper and deeper into the wilderness, far from any paved road or human settlement, into the heart of the unknown. The air grew colder, drier, carrying the distinct scent of dust and ancient stone, of primordial earth. Clara, wrapped in a thick wool blanket provided by the Sheikh's men, felt a strange mix of raw terror and a burgeoning, fierce exhilaration. This was real. This was happening. This was a war, and she was, impossibly, in the thick of it, a vital, undeniable part of the conflict. Suddenly, the vehicle lurched to a halt, throwing Clara forward against her seatbelt with a violent jolt. The driver, a lean, silent man named Khalil, turned back, his face a grim mask in the dim light of the dashboard. "Sheikh Hassan, we have a problem. Two vehicles approaching rapidly from the south. Unmarked. They're not local. And they're closing fast, sir. Too fast to be a coincidence." The Sheikh cursed under his breath, a sharp, guttural sound, his fist clenching, his jaw tightening. "Tariq, he's closing in. He must have tracked my satellite phone, or he has eyes even deeper in my network than I. Feared, we cannot let them capture the scroll. Or you, Clara. You are too vital. We must split up. It's our only chance to get the scroll to Al-Khazan before he does." He unrolled the scroll with practiced speed, tore a small, carefully chosen section from the bottom, a single cryptic verse, a riddle of shadows and false paths, a potent piece of misdirection, and handed it to Clara. "This is a decoy, a misdirection for Tariq. A path to nowhere that looks like everything, a false trail to lead them astray, to buy us time. Take it. Your mission is to lead them away from the main path to Al-Khazan. Create a diversion. My men will create a path for you, a momentary opening, a breach in their pursuit, before they close in." Clara's heart pounded, fear constricting her throat, making it hard to breathe, suffocating her. "Lead them away? How? I don't know this desert. I can't navigate by stars. I barely know north from south out here. It's an endless sea of sand." "You know the desert tongue, Clara, and the tricks of its poetry, its hidden meanings, its wayfinding clues." The Sheikh insisted, thrusting a small, worn satchel into her trembling hands. It contained a water bottle, a small compass, and a handful of energy dates. "They will follow you, thinking you have the full scroll, thinking they have cornered their prize. You must make them believe it, make your flight convincing, make them commit to the chase. Head towards the whispering canyons. It's a labyrinth, a maze of stone that will swallow them whole. Khalil will show you the initial direction. He will meet you there in 2 hours, after he has drawn them away from the main pursuit. He looked at Khalil, his eyes piercing with silent command, a heavy expectation. Protect her with your life, Khalil. She is the key to our future, to our very survival, to our entire nation. Khalil merely nodded, his expression unreadable, a man utterly devoted to his duty, a warrior facing his fate with grim acceptance. My life is yours, Sheikh, and hers. It is my honor to serve the Falcon King. Before Clara could protest, before she could even process the enormity of her task, the sheer impossible risk, the Sheikh opened the vehicle door. Go, Clara. Now, every second counts. Our future depends on it. Khalil was already out, gesturing for her, his form a dark silhouette against the dim horizon. Clara scrambled out, the cold desert wind whipping her hair around her face, stinging her eyes with fine sand. She felt a profound sense of abandonment as the Sheikh's vehicle roared to life and sped away in the opposite direction, its taillights quickly disappearing, leaving her standing in the vast, terrifying silence, utterly alone save for Khalil. "This way, Miss Clara," Khalil said, his voice low but firm, a steady anchor in the swirling chaos of the desert night. He handed her a powerful, heavy-duty flashlight. "Stay low. Follow my lead. We need to put significant distance between us before they realize their mistake, before they catch our trail. Move quickly and silently." They moved with surprising speed, weaving through rocky outcrops and climbing over small sand dunes, their footsteps barely disturbing the pristine surface. Khalil was a ghost in the desert, his movements silent and efficient, knowing every trick of the terrain, every hidden path, every deceptive shadow. Clara struggled to keep up, her lungs burning, her muscles screaming with exertion, the fine sand biting at her ankles with every desperate step. She clutched the decoy scroll and the satchel, her lifeline in the growing darkness, her only comfort. Soon, the faint rumble of approaching engines grew louder, closer, echoing ominously across the vast emptiness of the desert. Headlights swept the horizon, a blinding, predatory gaze searching for them, a hungry eye in the night, growing larger and more intense. "They're on us," Khalil whispered, pulling her roughly behind a large, jagged boulder, pressing her into the cold stone, shielding her. "Here's where we split. I'll make a path to the whispering canyons. You must take it. Do not look back. I will cover your trail, draw their full attention away from you, ensure they follow me, not you." "But what about you, Khalil?" Clara asked, her voice choked with raw fear, her eyes wide as she heard the shouts of men getting closer, their voices harsh and angry, growing louder by the second. Khalil gave her a rare, grim smile, a flash of determination in his dark eyes, a silent farewell, etched with courage. "My duty is to the Sheikh, and to you. My family has served the Falcon Kings for generations, Clara. It is my honor to do so. Now go." He pushed her gently but firmly towards a narrow opening between two towering rock faces, a dark fissure in the earth, barely visible in the gloom. "Keep to the deepest shadows. Look for the weeping rock. It marks the true entrance to the canyons, a giant's face weeping tears of stone. Move. Your survival is paramount. The Sheikh needs you. Our country needs you." Clara hesitated for only a second, her mind screaming in protest, torn between escape and a desperate plea for him to come with her. But the urgency in his eyes, the rapidly approaching vehicles, propelled her forward. She plunged into the darkness of the canyon entrance. Behind her, she could hear gunshots ringing out, sharp cracks that echoed through the night, the roar of engines, and savage shouts in Arabic. Khalil was engaging Tariq's men, a one-man army sacrificing himself for her, buying her precious moments of escape, buying them a chance. A wave of gut-wrenching guilt and fierce determination washed over her. She would not let him die in vain. She would not let the Sheikh down. She had to succeed. She ran, the powerful flashlight beam bouncing wildly ahead, illuminating a treacherous path of loose rocks, sudden drops, and narrow crevices. The canyon walls rose steeply on either side, a claustrophobic embrace of ancient, cold stone, pressing in on her, threatening to crush her with their sheer weight. The whispering canyons lived up to their name. The wind whistled through the crevices, creating eerie, mournful sounds, like ghosts wailing in the dark, playing tricks on her mind, making her jump at every phantom noise, every rustle. She ran until her legs ached, until her lungs burned with every gasp of dry, cold air, until she thought she couldn't take another step, her body screaming for release. Her body screamed for rest, for water, for an end to the terror, but her will pushed her onward, fueled by adrenaline and a desperate promise to Khalil. Finally, through a haze of exhaustion and panic, she saw it, a massive dark rock formation, glistening faintly in the gloom. It looked exactly like her grandmother described, a giant, ancient face, with streaks of mineral deposits running down its surface, giving the chilling impression of tears frozen in stone. The Weeping Rock, the true entrance to a deeper, more treacherous part of the maze, a gateway to the unknown. She pushed deeper into the canyons, scrambling over fallen rocks, twisting through narrow passages, her body aching, her senses overwhelmed. The sounds of the chase faded behind her, replaced by the wind's eerie whispers and the frantic thumping of her own heart, louder than any drum. She was utterly alone, in a labyrinth designed by nature itself, armed with a decoy scroll, a small compass, and a desperate hope. She had outrun them for now, but how long until they found her? How would she ever find her way back to the Sheikh in this vast, hostile wilderness? Her only compass now was the cryptic verse in her pocket, a secret map in ancient words, waiting for her to decipher its next clue. And the desert tongue, the wisdom of her grandmother, deeply ingrained in her heart, guiding her through the impossible, through the very fabric of ancient mystery, calling to her. Clara huddled deeper into the shadows, the decoy scroll clutched tight, its torn edge a constant reminder of her desperate mission. Her legs screamed, her breath ragged, each gasp of air burning in her lungs. Tariq's men wouldn't give up. Not with a sheikhdom on the line, not with the prize of Al-Khazan and the golden scarab at stake. The desert night offered cover, a vast, star-pricked blanket, but also countless perils, unseen drops, shifting sands, and the chilling emptiness that could swallow a person whole. She had to keep moving, using the cryptic verse to guide her, trusting her grandmother's words to light her path through this deadly maze. Her survival, and the Sheikh's fate, depended on it. She was now fully committed, driven by a new purpose beyond her wildest dreams, a fierce determination she hadn't known she possessed, forged in the crucible of fear and desperation. The desert, once a symbol of endless, terrifying void, was now her battleground, and she would fight for every inch of it. She pressed on, the Weeping Rock a ghostly sentinel behind her, fading with distance. The canyons twisted and turned, each passage looking identical in the dim light, a cruel deception of nature, designed to disorient. The flashlight beam danced ahead, picking out ancient hieroglyphs carved into the rock face, symbols of falcons, serpents, and celestial maps, faded by time but still discernible, still holding meaning. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her mind, asterisk, "The desert tells its own stories, Clara. You must learn to listen to the stone, to the wind, to the very stars above. They speak to those who have the blood, who have the heart, asterisk." Was this what she meant? Were these carvings more clues, hidden waypoints left by her ancestors, meant only for those of her bloodline? She felt a growing, profound connection to the land, an ancestral memory stirring within her, guiding her feet through the darkness, through the very heart of the mystery. Hours blurred into a grueling test of endurance, pushing her body to its absolute limits. Her water supply dwindled alarmingly, each sip a conscious, painful decision, barely enough to wet her parched throat. Thirst became a gnawing companion, her throat raw, her lips cracked and bleeding. She stumbled, fell, scraped her hands and knees on the unforgiving rock, the sharp, stinging pain, a grounding sensation, a reminder that she was alive, but forced herself back up, fueled by adrenaline and a desperate will to survive. Fear was a constant companion, a cold knot in her stomach, but it was now tempered by a strange, primal focus, a clear understanding of the immense stakes involved. Every shadow seemed to move, every rustle of wind sounded like approaching footsteps, every distant echo a sign of pursuit. She knew they were still hunting her, relentless, unwavering. They wouldn't stop until she was caught or dead, until the scroll was theirs. Tariq's ruthlessness was a tangible presence, a cold breath on her neck, a phantom whisper of his threats, spurring her on. Suddenly, a flicker of light ahead, not her flashlight, a distant, dancing orange glow, a campfire. Her heart leaped, a mix of desperate hope and renewed terror, a terrifying possibility. Was it Khalil, having somehow escaped and found her, a miracle in this desolate place? Or Tariq's men, setting a trap, knowing she would follow this path of supposed distraction, calculating her moves? The decoy scroll, her role in leading them away, came to mind. She was supposed to lead them into a maze, not into a direct confrontation. She needed to be smarter, more cunning than they expected, to use her invisibility one last time, to melt away like a ghost. She extinguished her flashlight, melting back into the deeper shadows of a narrow crevice, pulling her body into the cold, rough stone until she was almost invisible, a part of the rock itself. Peering out, she saw 3 figures huddled around a small fire, their faces obscured by hoods, their rifles glinting ominously in the firelight. They spoke in rapid, harsh Arabic, a dialect subtly different from the Sheikh's. Definitely not her grandmother's. This was the guttural, unsophisticated speech of hired mercenaries, of men motivated by coin, not loyalty. They were Tariq's men, no doubt, and they were agitated, their voices laced with frustration and a new, chilling urgency. One of them pointed to a fresh set of footprints in the sand, just at the canyon entrance she had taken, her footprints clear as day. "She came this way!" he barked, his voice carrying clearly in the still night, filled with frustration. "The Falcon King's path. She must have the true scroll. No ordinary waitress would know this secret passage, this ancient way." Another figure, taller and more menacing, stepped into the firelight, revealing a face scarred by ancient battles, his eyes burning with a chilling fanaticism, a glint of triumph. "The Sheikh's whore plays a foolish game. She leads us on a chase, but this path is not the direct one to Al-Khazan. It is a dead end for times her asterisk. She only holds a fragment, a distraction, bait for us. But it confirmed the existence of the spring, the fool. She has given us a greater gift than she knows. We now have certainty. The true location is within our grasp. It's time to abandon this pursuit of the decoy." He kicked a loose rock with a heavy boot, sending it clattering into the darkness, a sound that made Clara flinch, tightening her muscles. "Search the main paths. Mobilize all units to the Falcon Peak. Leave her to perish in this labyrinth. We have bigger prey to catch now. The real prize awaits." Clara's breath hitched, a silent gasp of shock and sudden cold comprehension. They knew the decoy was a decoy, but they still believed she had a times scroll, one that confirmed Al-Khazan's existence, a critical piece of information they lacked until now, a crucial confirmation. And now, they understood the true urgency of the solstice. They were still hunting her, yes, but now they also had a clearer target, the true spring, and they were abandoning this pursuit of her to go for it directly, with overwhelming force. She had fulfilled her mission of distraction, but at what terrible cost? Had Khalil even survived engaging them, buying her precious time? The sound of distant engines reached her ears again, not the receding vehicles, but more times vehicles, rumbling closer from another direction, from the main desert roads. Tariq was bringing in reinforcements, closing off every escape route to the true Al-Khazan, preparing for a full assault, an all-out war. She was trapped, deeper in the maze, with no clear way out, and the dawn was approaching, the summer solstice only hours away, the moment of Tariq's claim. She had to find a way to warn the Sheikh, to tell him that Tariq knew the spring was real and that he was moving for the main prize. Her decoy had worked too well, providing Tariq with exactly the confirmation he needed, making his plans more concrete. The game had changed, and she was utterly alone in the heart of a vast, deadly desert, with a crushing weight of responsibility now resting squarely on her slender shoulders. The fate of a kingdom and her own life hung in the balance, waiting for the dawn. What happened next in the heart of the Whispering Canyons? Did Clara escape the labyrinth and find her way back to the Sheikh, against all odds? Did Khalil survive his valiant stand against Tariq's ruthless men, or was his sacrifice in vain? And what deadly, ancient secrets truly awaited them at Al-Khazan, the fabled hidden spring, as the summer solstice approached, threatening to ignite a civil war? Don't miss a single beat of this unbelievable high-stakes story. The adventure is just beginning, the stakes rising higher with every twist. Follow now, or the algorithm might hide us forever, and you'll miss the climax of Clara's impossible journey. Your comments and shares keep us alive, ensuring these untold stories continue to reach you and illuminate the hidden corners of history and destiny. Don't risk losing the next thrilling chapter of Clara's fight for survival and a Sheikhdom. Your engagement fuels our quest for truth and keeps the narrative flowing.